Hey guys, welcome back to the course. In this demo, we will go over two different ways to take the backup of a network device's configuration. In the first method, we will send multiple commands to the router to transfer the running configuration of a router to a text file over TFTP. In the second method, we will send only one show run command to the router and then use Python's file operations to create a new text file and write the output of show run command into that file. I have deliberately made sure that this use case does not use any method or technique which has not been discussed in this course. If you have gone through all the lectures of this course, then understanding this code should not be a problem at all. To solve this use case, we will be using Python's netmiko library. Here we start off by importing the connection handler class from the netmiko library and the datetime class. We then initialize a variable called backup file with some static string and the date function of the datetime class. The idea is to create a new file in the files directory, and the file name should have today's date, hyphen, backup, and an extension of txt. Then we move on to create a new dictionary called Cisco router and add a bunch of key value pairs to it, which basically includes router's IP and its login credentials. This is followed by invoking the connect handler class to connect to the router. Here we have two variables. The first variable has a simple show run command. The second variable, however, is a little tricky. In the second variable, we have three lists within one parent list, and each list has two elements. The first element is supposed to be the command that we send to the router, and the second element is supposed to be the response from the router. The idea is to look for a specific pattern in the router's response. Once the response is matched with a specific pattern, we will then send the second command. Let's demonstrate this on the actual router. Now the first command that we issue is this copy running config command and hit enter. Then the router sends this prompt back to us to either confirm the address of the remote host or enter a new one. This is exactly what we are matching in the second element of the list in the code. Now it is our turn to send the next command to the router. In the code, we are sending /n, which is the regex equivalent to a new line or enter key, because we don't need to change the TFTP IP. We have already passed it in the initial command. And the response we expect from the router is this string, destination file name. Let's do this on the router. Here, I press enter and I get the destination file name prompt, similar to what we have defined in the code. In the next line, we are again sending /n, which means that we are again pressing enter because we don't need to change the file name, and the response that we expect from the router is nothing. That's why it's blank, because we don't need to look for any more patterns. Let's do that on the router and see what happens. The file was successfully transferred. Let's now go to the directory and make sure it's there. And it is indeed there. Now let's delete that file and create a function to bypass the work we just did on the router manually and pass this special command as an argument to the send multiline method. Let's call this function now and see how it goes. As you can see, the code was successfully executed, and if we go back to the directory, we see that a new backup file has been created successfully. That was one way of taking configuration backups. Let's now look at the second method. Here we have this function where we are sending the show run command to the router and storing its outcome in this variable called response file. We then open a new file in the write mode and write the contents of the variable into that file. The file name is not hard-coded. It's a variable, and as I explained earlier, this variable is supposed to create a text file in the files directory, and its name should be today's date -backup.txt. Let's run this and see how it goes. As you can see, the code was successfully executed, and if we go back to the directory, we see that a new backup file with appropriate name has been created successfully. As you must have realized, whatever techniques we have employed in this use case, be it lists or file operations or dictionaries, they all have been covered in this course. So I hope that you were able to successfully follow along and understand how this use case was handled. So with that, I thank you for joining me in this journey, and I hope you find the rest of the course useful as well.